All right, welcome back. It's Wholesaling and Flipping Houses. My name is James, and my phone number that you can reach me at is 832-534-2274. I've been in the business in Houston. I've been wholesaling and flipping houses in Houston for almost 8 years now. And so what I decided to do is go ahead and make a series of videos talking about wholesaling and flipping houses. I'm not a guru claiming to do 1,000 deals a year. I'm not selling any coaching programs or anything like that. I'm not an attorney, not giving legal advice. I'm just sharing my knowledge and my experience and what I've learned over the past 8 years, and hopefully adding some value to you and helping you, get your wholesaling career going and flipping houses. And today's topic, I'm going to be talking about rehabbing and estimating repairs. And this is probably going to be about a two-part video. So let's go ahead and jump right in. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about as far as wholesaling and flipping houses, because this is one of the numbers that is really important to have as close to right as possible. The other one being the ARV. You need to have a correct and a solid ARV number, and then you also need to have a solid repair number as well. And so the repair aspect is what we're going to be talking about today, because again, those two numbers that I just mentioned, those are going to affect your profit. So there's a few things I want to talk about on this particular video. Starting off with the right rehab, and then after that I want to go into estimating cost. And what I do is I break down my estimations into two phases. Phase one being when I first go out and look at the property, I do an evaluation and I estimate the repairs within $5,000 to $10,000. So for example, I may say, this property is going to cost me between $30,000 and $40,000 to rehab, or maybe it's 35 to 40, somewhere in that ballpark. But my job on the first phase is to estimate get within $5,000 to $10,000, and then in phase two, I get the rehab budget as close as possible to what it's going to be. And there's a couple different ways that I do that. And then I want to talk about some of the things that go into your rehab budget: demo and dumpsters, permits, materials, labor, time, and overages. So I'll jump into those a little bit later. Then I also have a quick formula for you to use to help you determine. Now, every market's different. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm in the Houston market, and so it could be different in your market. It could be a little bit less, it could be more. And as of right now, we do have material costs are going up, and labor costs are going up a little bit as well. But an average ballpark formula that is kind of like a safe net. We're closer to the $20 range, but $15 to $20 per square foot will give you your estimate for your cosmetic rehab, which will be your flooring, your paint, your cabinets, countertops, things of that nature. So for example, if you have a 1,500 square foot house and you're going to go with the $20 per square foot, that's going to give you a $30,000 rehab for your cosmetic. Now, if you need to replace a roof, or it's got foundation work, you got major plumbing issues or major electrical issues, things of that nature, you're gonna have to factor in about $6,000 to $8,000. HVAC is also, I forgot to write that down. HVAC is also going to be not included in this $15 to $20 a square foot. And for each of those items, you can ballpark $6,000 to $8,000, depending on the degree of them, the size of the house, things of that nature. So let's go ahead and go back over here to the right rehab. What is the right rehab, and how do you know what the right rehab is? it's very important. It goes back to your numbers and how it can affect your bottom line. You don't want to over improve your property and not get the right return on it. And then also, you don't want to under improve the property and have it sit on the market, or you have to go with a lower sales price. So knowing the right rehab to do is very important. And the way that I figure that out is I look at the sold comps and recent, and it's also got to be similar properties as well. Um, but I look at the sold comps, and then I also look at active and pending as well. And I look at those properties and I look at the pictures, and there's been times where I've gone and actually walked. If they're active, I'll go walk them. And sometimes if they're pending, I might be able to get in and do a quick walkthrough. But I can usually look at the pictures pretty well and determine the degree of rehab. And then I look at the subject property and say, okay, in order to get to this is what my property looks like. What is it that I need to do? For example, if you have 6 comps that you're looking at and 5 of them have, laminate floors or tile floors, you don't want to look at putting carpet in. You want to look at doing similar rehab. Same thing if they've got granite or, marble countertops, quartz, things like that. You want to know, what they're doing, and you kind of want to know, the color schemes that are selling. You want to look at every aspect, and you want to be able to match it as close as possible by putting your own twist on it. You also want to look at the days on market. That's also an important thing to have in mind as well. But the active and the pending comps are your competition. Pending is pretty much almost sold, but your active comps are going to be your competition. So you want to be able to, within reason, keeping your rehab cost where it needs to be, and again, not over improving, but you want to be the best house when your property hits the market. Because your goal when you're flipping the house or wholesaling, your goal is to close as soon as possible, get in and out, and move on to the next deal or find more deals. So that's why knowing the right rehab to do is very important. Again, you don't want to over improve, you don't want to under improve. I know I've said it 1,000 times in these videos, but it's very important. Okay. Now, estimating the cost, again, I break these down. This part, I break it down into 2 phases. When I first walk the property, I break it down. Okay, it's going to cost me about $30,000 to $40,000 to rehab to get to where I could compete with the other houses on the market in the area. And then once I get the contract and I have my due diligence period, then what I'll do is I'll get my contractors in there, and we'll do a walkthrough. I'll send them a general scope of work. I usually have 2 types of scopes of work, which we'll cover on the next video. I have a general scope of work, which is, that's what it is, it's general. And then I have a detailed scope of work, which gets detailed. It explains we're going to change out every, outlet, light switch, cover plates. It's going to say, I need this much flooring. I'm going to break down and say, I'm going to put in 12mm flooring in all the main areas. The bathrooms are going to have tile, things of that nature. I'm going to be very, very detailed. Sometimes I even include, UPCs from, home improvement stores, as well as prices, things like that. Scopes of work, which again, I'll cover in the next video. You can never be too detailed on your scope of work. And then moving right along into what goes into your rehab budget. Your demo and dumpsters, all of these are going to have separate costs. You have your demos and dumpsters, you have your permit costs. Very important to know how much it's going to cost you for your permits and your materials. Um, Now, a way that you can kind of figure out materials is, go to these home improvement stores and pick out, some stuff that you're going to put in a rehab project. Pick out some tile, pick out some flooring, pick out some cabinets, pick out, your paint, and just price all this stuff. Get prices on sheetrock, get price on mud, get price on, grout for your tile, thin set for your tile. Also, you got to factor in, if you do laminate flooring, it's going to have the padding underneath it. Factor in all these costs that's going to go into your rehab as far as materials go, and just get you a ballpark figure of what your material costs are going to be. And then as far as labor costs, the way that you can determine your labor cost is talk to different contractors. Have a contractor walk a property with you and, kind of ask them what their labor costs. Hey, what's your labor cost for tile? Labor only. What's your labor cost for laminate flooring? What's your labor cost for cabinets, cabinet installation? What's your labor cost for paint? And paint, they can usually say, okay, this house is, 1,800 square feet. I can do it for this much, or I can do it for this much. And that would be labor only. And then you can factor in, okay? And then you also ask them, okay, on this particular house, how much paint do you think I need? Okay, and then they say, well, you're going to need, for the interior, you're going to need, 15 gallons. Well, then you can factor in, you're probably going to need about 18 gallons, maybe 20. And then you can go price that, and that'll give you your cost for that. And then you just start adding things up. You can also you also need to look at your time frame as well, and know, how long it's going to take for the rehab. Is it a 4-week rehab? Is it a 12-week rehab? That's very important to know as well, because the longer it takes for the rehab, the more cost you have as far as holding costs. Because you got to factor in, you're going to have say you have a 12-week rehab, that's 3 months. You have 3 months where that house is not on the market. Then once the rehab is done, then it's going to sit on the market for another month, 2 months, 3 months. So now you're already looking at, anywhere from 4 to 6 months, and you're still paying, your interest payments, your mortgage payments, or whatnot. And you also need to factor in on your rehab budget. You need to factor in overages. We usually call that a contingency budget. I typically, on my rehabs, I do 15% or 5,000, whichever is greater. So if my rehab budget, if I come down and my rehab budget is 40,000, I'm going to times it by 15%, and then I'm going to see, is that number greater than 5,000, or is 5,000 greater? And I'm going to go with the greater, because I would much rather have, for example, I'd much rather have, a buffer, for about 7,000 or 8,000 and not have to use it, than to have a buffer or no buffer at all and need extra money. Because once again, that's going to determine, it's going to affect your profit, it's going to affect your offer as well, as far as knowing all of this information. So that's just basically a nutshell. Again, there's several different ways that you can get to where you can walk into a property and ballpark it. One, I've already explained, one way would be to, have a contractor go with you, have somebody that flips houses, have a wholesaler, have some sort of partner go with you and help you estimate repairs, especially if it's your first couple of deals. Every property is different, so you might walk into a property one day and that rehab is, let's just say that rehab is 30,000, and then you walk into another rehab or another property, and you may estimate that property, it may look a little better than the first one, but it might need more. You just got to know what to look for and different things of that nature. So it's always good in your first few deals until you get it down to have somebody with some kind of experience, whether it's wholesaling, flipping houses, or a contractor or general contractor themselves, because they can break down the cost for you and give you an idea of how much it's going to cost. Um, and that's basically it for part one of the estimating repairs. On the next couple of videos, we'll be talking about scopes of work and how to put one together. Again, I've already touched on it. The more detailed you are on putting together a detailed scope of work will help you get the right bids. And then I also want to talk to you about getting bids and what you need to do and how you need to have your general contractors give you your bids and what you need to look for. So I hope this video helps. Like I've mentioned before, I'm very passionate about this stuff. I love doing it, and estimating repairs is one of my favorite topics to talk about because of the fact that it does affect your bottom line. It affects your offer. You don't want to not only do you not want to over improve a property, but you don't want to overestimate a rehab as well. You don't want to underestimate a rehab because it can affect, if you're wholesaling the property, it can affect, how fast you sell it. It can affect your image. If you're sending out properties and your ARV is wrong, your rehab number is wrong, it can make you look bad. If I send my buyers a property and I say, hey, this property is worth $250 and the rehab is $25,000, and it comes back that the rehab is or the ARV is $230 and the rehab is $45, next time they get a property from me, I send them an email or a text, that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So I always do everything I can to make sure that when I send my buyers a property, that my numbers are as accurate as they possibly can be, because it helps them make a decision quicker. They also know that, when they get a text from me, that my numbers are solid, because we've done multiple deals together, and they know that, they still have to do their own due diligence. They still have to walk the property. They still have to pull their own ARV. They still have to determine what their scope of work is going to be. But as long as I can get it close enough to their expectations, then I increase my chances of closing deals with them. Not only just one deal, but I can close, as long as I get the right deals and they're true deals, I can close deals with them over and over and over again. I can close multiple deals at a time with them because I know what they look for, and they know what I look for, and they know how I structure my deals with them. Therefore, it makes doing business with each other very easy. And this is one of the key factors, is having my repairs broke down and estimated in a as correct or as close as I can possibly get it. It just makes things easier. It makes life easier. So, and one other thing that I did not touch on here, as far as the right rehab, you have to know, if you're wholesaling, you have to know your buyer's potential exit strategies. Are they going to buy and hold, or are they going to flip? And if you're a flipper, you need to know hey, that's my strategy, I'm a flip. There are rent-ready rehabs versus flip rehabs. So you got to know the difference between those. For example, if I'm going to go in, buy a property and get it rent-ready, I may not need to do as much to the property as I would if I was going to flip it. I may get away, instead of doing a $40,000 rehab, I might get away with a $25,000 rehab. Just depends on what the exit strategy is. That's very important. I can't believe I forgot to leave that out. But knowing the buyer's exit strategy, whether you're the buyer or if you're wholesaling it to another buyer, their exit strategy is very important to know. So that is the first part into estimating repairs. As I mentioned multiple times before, I'm going to talk about scopes of work and contractors and contractor bids on the next couple of videos. So if you have not already done so, if you're still with me, hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell so that you get notified whenever I upload new videos, because I do upload these videos. I'm doing a series and I'm talking about all the different aspects. And once you subscribe, go back and look at my other videos. I've talked about what to do when you get the contract, what your next steps are. I've talked about getting the contract, how to put a property under contract. I've talked about a lot of different things as far as wholesaling and flipping houses. And I personally feel it's good information. So I invite you to subscribe and follow along. And I also invite you to give me some feedback. If you like these videos, if you don't, if you think they're informative, let me know. I'm really truly passionate about wholesaling and flipping houses and anything real estate. And if there's any way that I can add value, let me know. I would love to add value and help you get going. Again, you can text me at this number. My name is James, 832-534-2274. Feel free to text me if you have a deal that you want me to look at. If you're in Houston and you want me to walk a property with you, I'd be glad to do that. I'd also be glad to look at a property to buy for myself. Me and my partner, we're looking for more rehab projects. So if you have a deal that makes sense for a flip, that is my exit strategy. I buy, fix, and flip. Then I also wholesale as well. And I have buyers that I have really close relationships with. As I've mentioned on previous videos, I typically, whenever I get a property in a contract, I can usually, if my exit strategy is going to be to assign that contract, then I can usually send a text. I have anywhere from 5 to about 8 or 9 people that I deal with on a regular basis that shoot a text, or I can pick up the phone, give them a call, say, hey, this is the scoop on this property, you interested or not? So if you have a deal that you're looking to move, it's your first contract or second contract, and you're looking to get it, closed, reach out to me via text at this number, and I'll be glad to help you in any which way that I can. So enough of me rambling. I love to talk about real estate, so that's one thing to keep in mind when you're watching my videos. I try to keep them around 15 minutes. Sometimes they go in the neighborhood of 30 minutes. I apologize for that, especially if I bore you, but again, I'm just passionate about this. So I will see you on the next video.